so we're going to get started. Thank you guys for coming to the Study Abroad workshop. My name is Gabby. I'm the STEM coordinator, in case I haven't met you guys, because I don't think I've met either of you two. Yeah. What are your names? Introduce yourself to the room.
Okay. My name is Michaela, but I go by Coco.
Okay. Hi, Coco.
I'm Ellen.
Ellen?
Yeah.
Hi, Ellen. You too.
I'm Karen.
And then, do you guys all know?
No.
No? Okay. Then you guys two introduce yourselves.
So I'm Alejandro, but I usually go by Alex.
My name
Who are
is
you in
Belle.
Trio?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm a tutor. I'm a STEM tutor in Trio.
And Trio student.
Yep.
My name is Angelica. Some people call me Jelly, so if you don't remember Angelica, just say Jelly. I am the lead tutor of Trio office, so like if the tutors can't really help you, or like if you need something just in general, like which tutor you can go to, you don't know who, you can come to me. I'm in that little office that has like the smallest space ever. And so if you see me in there, I may look busy, but most of the time I'm not. So feel free to say hi, or like if you have a question. I've been in Trio for 2 years, and I've been working with them for 2 years as well.
Okay, and since we're a small group, I just want to like make sure we start the group dynamics so that we can also have like a conversation about study abroad.
Mm-hmm.
I studied abroad when I was a junior. Jelly studied abroad.
Yes, when I was a sophomore, I studied abroad for a semester. So if you guys have any questions, like feel free to ask us.
Yeah, if
we know a
anything
lot.
comes up, stop us and we'll answer a question. And Alex got the planning scholarship. So if you guys have any questions about that process, Alex is an expert. Okay, so first of all, we're going to start by talking a little bit about what study abroad is, or why it's kind of important, or why it's something that you should invest your time in. So first of all, like what is study abroad? And mostly it's a way to increase your cultural awareness. You can gain a global perspective in your field of study. So there's even some majors that you may think may not have like a global application. And a lot of like the STEM majors come to mind, right? Or even, Coco, what's your major?
A nonprofit.
Nonprofit,
And
okay.
then my minor sustainability.
Yeah, okay, so you have like a ton of like global applications to yours. Another thing is that you get to earn ASU credit while you're abroad, whether they're direct core competencies, I think is what they're called now, or even electives, which is what I did in my study abroad, is I did all of my upper division electives in my semester. Jelly, what did you do?
I did my lower division electives when I was studying abroad. So.
Yeah. And then also, like, you get to work towards different goals that you have, whether they're academic, professional, or personal. And it makes it even better because you get to do it somewhere else that's not here. Not that here isn't great, but, you know, somewhere else is always more exciting. Okay, so why should you study abroad? And these are, like, the direct skills that you get from studying abroad. So, really, like, the most important ones is that you have to learn how to communicate better into different types of people. So along with that, your language skills, they really increase. So do your leadership skills, because you have to be somewhere else and you're kind of like on your own, whereas here, there's always somebody that you can talk to or ask for questions. You have to be flexible, and then you also, as a byproduct of all these things that you have to experience, your self-confidence and like your own confidence in yourself grows. Also, because the situations that you get put in, and because it's something new, your critical thinking and problem-solving abilities really increase. So does your ability to build relationships, to build networks, to be aware of your place in the global world. What are some things that you thought that you learned, Jelly?
I feel like just being there, I got to learn a lot more about myself. So before college and just in general, even my first 2 years, I was kind of quiet and I didn't really like seek out to do things. I was kind of like in my little bubble because everything was new to me. Like going to college was new, being away from home was new. And like I live in Avondale, so I'm not even that far. And so going like thousands of miles away for 4 months away from my family, friends, like I did have one friend that went with me, but I didn't get to see her that much. And so even then, like I still was learning, one, how do I deal with that separation from like everything I knew, but also like how do I push out of that? Like how do I push out of my comfort zone? How do I try new things without like, you know, thinking like, oh my god, like this is crazy, but it's crazy, but it's so worth it. And you'll see when you do go out there and when you do try new things that you're not used to, that it's so worth it in the end.
It is. So when I went with one other person from ASU, but he was in like a different university in the same city, so we never really saw each other, so it was basically just me. And you have to learn, everybody else, there was almost no Americans on my program. Everybody else was from like all over the world. So it was really interesting to see how the dynamics changed based on like languages, or how comfortable people were with the languages, or even just like the classes that we were taking. And that's kind of interesting. So what are some reasons that you guys, or what are some things that you guys hope that you'll get out of study abroad?
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
So it's not just people from ASU, so it's just like a lot of people?
So, I'll get into it a little bit later, but there's three-ish main types of study abroad programs. So there's exchanges, and that's the one that I did. So a spot, ASU has a partnership with like universities all over the world, and they just held a spot for like certain ASU students. So I pretty much just like exchanged to another university. So I transferred for a semester essentially. Partnerships are a little bit different. That's the one that like Lewis did.
I did that.
Oh, you did that one too? Okay.
Yeah, so like I did a partnership and it was with CIEE, which I don't remember what the acronym is for, but they have their own institutes across like the world. So I did the one in Europe, and so they had like, cause I did the open campus program, which was where every 6 weeks I would go to a different campus, which was like a different city in Europe. So I did the London, Paris, and Rome campus program. And like, but you're traveling with a group of U.S. students. So like, there were times where we had students that were from like international. So like some of them were from like Spain, some were from India, some were from like China. But usually it was with U.S. students, and they came from different colleges. So like, majority of them were from ASU. We had some from Penn State. We had some from CU Boulder in Colorado. Like there is different ones. But it just depends on the program that you're doing. In mine specifically, like we got to see a lot more American students, so it was kind of a lot easier to like make friends and get to know people, because you're Americans, you guys kind of understand like, what's going on, and like rather than like, oh, like this person's from like China
Germany.
or like Germany and like they're just like coming from this whole different like life aspect.
Yeah, and there's another type of program, and those ones are faculty led. Those ones usually like in the summer, and they're a little bit shorter, but you're going with like faculty that are specific to whatever courses that you're taking.
And a group of ASU.
Yeah, ASU professors. So that's another option. Okay, and then now, so why are all these skills important, right? So in 3 areas of your life, which right now as a student are the most like important, are academic, personal, and professional like spheres, right? So one of the main reasons is that study abroad alumni, 80% of them had a stronger interest in their studies, or they were more dedicated to their studies. And when I was a student, I could always use a little bit more motivation and dedication. So that's like one perk of going to study abroad. Secondly, and this was also true for myself, that once I came back from study abroad, I was more committed to doing graduate school and professional school than I was when I left. And then on a personal level, along with 97% of study abroad alumni, I also thought that study abroad really like shaped how I viewed the world, how I viewed my place in it, and what I wanted it to be, down the road in my career. But it also like increased my confidence. I used to be, also kind of quiet, shy, and I'm not. It's not also just because of study abroad, but it was a big part of it. And then professionally, once you study abroad, you stand out a lot, not only to employers, but in your professional and graduate school applications. Only 3% of US college students actually study abroad. So just by doing like a study abroad program, like no matter the length of time, you're already like setting yourself apart. Yeah. So any questions, any comments about that, why that could be? And another fun fact about that is that there was a study done, and they surveyed over 800 companies, and they said that over the past 5 years, and this was done in like 2010, so this was a few years ago, but they were saying that they had lost like a really significant amount of revenue in business partnerships or in deals because they didn't have any employees who were culturally competent. So like think about that for a second, like, right? Like this is starting to be a super important part of the world just because of how interconnected and intertwined the world is now. Like it's important to be culturally competent and aware of what happens. Okay, And then how long are the programs? So ASU's been doing, a lot of shifts to make sure that, to really increase the access to who can study abroad. And one of the ways that they're doing that is by offering longer programs or even shorter programs. So I did a semester abroad, but you can do a full year abroad. You can do a session A or a session B abroad, which are like 7 weeks. And some programs are even as short as a week. So you can do a spring break one, there's even winter break options, and there's even short, like 1 or 2 week summer sessions that you can do. So basically the main point of that is that you can find something that works for you, even if you're like a medical studies major, which down here is like, it's really hard to like fit something else into that schedule. Okay, so if by now you're not already interested in study abroad, I really hope you will be, and if you are thinking about it, even if you're not convinced, definitely go to a study abroad 101 workshop. So they talk about what we talked about here, but in more detail. So they talk about the program types, who's eligible for what program types. They give you information on housing, finances, how to look for and how to choose a program, and even how the application process works. So they don't have any downtown 101 sessions, unfortunately, but they do have some online options. And if you go to this link right there, it's every Wednesday from 12 to 12:30, and they use the application called Zoom. So you don't really have to download anything. You can use their web application. Okay, so now you may be thinking, how am I going to pay for this, right? I'm interested, and that's like one of the main things, but also practically, like, how are you going to pay for this? So if you have the Obama scholarship, that's one of the ways that you can pay for your study abroad. There's a few caveats to that, and that's it has to be after your freshman year, and you have to be, it has to be either a partnership or an exchange program in the fall or spring semester, because the Obama scholarship doesn't disperse during the summer. So this semester will count as one of your 8 semester maximums. So they recommend that you do it your junior year, but if you give yourself enough time and you plan it well enough, you can also do it your sophomore or your senior year.
So like, I'm an Obama scholar, and I started like going into college. I already had like an interest in studying abroad. I just didn't know how or like what to do, but I knew like it was gonna happen, so I started planning. And basically, like, I planned it out to where, like, I wanted to study abroad my sophomore year, because since I am a nursing major, once I go into my junior year, that's when I get all the core classes for nursing. And so I knew sophomore year would be my best bet. And so I already started planning, like, I already started going to, like, study abroad 101, talking to my advisor. And by doing that, I was able to study abroad my spring semester of my sophomore year, only because, like, the way that I did it, I got all my prereqs done early, and that gave me that whole semester free just for electives. And so if you like plan it out really early, just kind of start during the summer of after your freshman year, you can already start like getting stuff ready for, let's say, like later on, or even before then, like if you can, like you can already start planning now. But it is possible, like you don't have to do it your junior year. It is recommended because that's usually kind of like the best time, but also depends on your program, because there's some programs where you can't really move around your schedule during your junior year. So prereqs are definitely the best time, especially for STEM majors, because that's when it's like kind of easy to get those done fast compared to like your classes that are more related to your major.
Yeah, exactly. And another fun fact is if you want to study abroad during the fall or spring and you don't want your Obama scholarship to count for study abroad, you can also tell financial aid, like, I want to pause for study abroad, and you have, still your 8 semesters. Or you can do it in the summer and you don't have to worry about that. Another thing too is if you have a provost scholarship, it'll also disperse if you go on a study abroad program in fall or spring. So you can also use that to help pay for any program fees. And now, so this is one of the scholarships that Alex got that I was mentioning. It's called the Planning Scholarship. And it's a scholarship specifically for first generation and low income students. So if you were eligible for this scholarship, you should have gotten an invitation to apply.